So today I got a question from one of my boys, and he asked what I consider socialism. Now before I dive into that, I do not want to make this into a political channel. I'll answer these once in a while. The reason why is because these topics tend to blow out of proportion and get out of context fairly quickly. So I'll try and be specific as I can. Bear with me. Now, before I give you my final answer, because I'm kind of iffy on this, I'm half and half. I'll tell you a story about a small country, a new country that was made decades ago. This country was capitalist, but there were these small communities that started developing socialist societies. They were doing just fine, and that country, the government did not care as long as they were producing some supply for the entire nation. Now, what tends to happen over time is that these small communities grew. People started having kids, and their kids started having kids. The communities grew. And what happens here is that when a community grows, that sense of community gets lost because people start developing individualism. People start developing their own agendas, and then it gets hard to keep track of everybody in the village. Of what was once a village, it just becomes a thriving town. And that little socialist economic model that they use for that small community doesn't work anymore because the needs start growing as well. And the supplies that are being demanded from that community start to grow. So they're gonna have to adapt their economic system to meet the new demands of everyone in that community. I can use the same example with your group of friends. Like, let's say for example, your crew of friends, it's like 6 people, right? But then you just feel like adding more people to your group. You have 6 friends in your group, and then you just decide to add more people into that group. Like, let's say 20. By the end of the year, you have 20 people in your group. I guarantee you that everyone in your circle of friends will start developing little cliques within that big circle. And I'll tell you why. It's human nature that we want to feel special, that we want to feel exclusive, that we start developing these little cliques. It doesn't matter if we already have a bunch of friends like in that big group. We want to feel special, and we're going to develop little cliques in that group of 20 people regardless. People are like that. We're just wired like that. If you're wondering what country I was talking about, that country is Israel, and those small communities that were developing a socialist economic model, they were called the kibbutz or kibbutzim. I probably butchered that, but anyways, you can look it up. If you were asking me if I would consider socialism for us, meaning the United States, no, never. I'll tell you why. Because there's too many people in this country. There's over 300 million, like probably give or take, over 300 million people. And it's impossible to implement that kind of economic system for that many people. Even now, just saying it, I'm surprised the Soviet Union lasted so many decades. All in all, socialist economic models would work best for small communities like the one I just mentioned. Once that small community starts growing, it's time for people to start adapting into a newer social model, whether it's capitalism, monetarism, etc. It doesn't matter. Just the point is that socialism will not work. Now, am I against socialism? No, absolutely not. There are some stuff that I actually like about socialism, like free healthcare, free education. I'm for that, and I'll be glad if the United States still implements socialist programs in our society. But all in all, if they want to apply socialist economic model into our whole economy, no, I would be against that. It's just not going to work out. It's not going to work out in the long run. Maybe we might see positive results in the short term, but in the long term, it's not going to last. Eventually, the needs of everybody will run out because people have different needs. We don't have the same amount of needs also. Some people want more, some people want less. Some people actually require more food, and some people actually require less food. Just the way it is, we're different. We're wired differently. Nobody is wired the same. So I'm going to give you a good takeaway from this video. In college, you're going to come across different kinds of people. You're going to meet some interesting characters. You will come across stuff that you might like, new philosophies, but before you immerse yourself or you involve yourself fully into something, read. Whether you're interested in joining a new religion, read that holy book. Read the holy book from that religion. Whether it's a new way of political thinking or a new philosophy or a new economic system way of thinking, read. Really immerse yourself. Really know what you're doing. Really know what you're getting yourself into, because we have so many people, unfortunately, that belong to certain organizations, but they've never read the entire book from their faction. And just because it sounds good doesn't mean it is going to be good for you. I mean, you got people switching religions, you got people switching different political parties all the time. So you have to figure out what's good for you. doesn't mean it's bad all in all. It could be good for those people in there, and maybe certain people in that group, it might not be good for them, and maybe later on in their life they might switch to something else, to a different way of thinking, or they might stay there forever. It's all up to the individual.